welcome to the chaos. This episode is going to be another one of my pattern comparison type videos. I have done this once before with sea turtles, showing all the different kinds of sea turtles that I've made and talking about the various patterns and that I've used and which ones I prefer and why and all that kind of stuff. But this time it's going to be on dragons. As everyone probably knows, it is the year of the dragon. We're about halfway through the year now, and I have made a lot of dragons. I kind of went a little dragon crazy, and I even started before the year officially began. So I want to go through the patterns that I've used, the patterns that I've tested out, um, which ones do I like the best or have used the most, and which ones have been selling for me at markets and stuff for the first half of the year. I'm actually going to start with two that I'm going to call honorable mentions because I technically made them last year. Like they weren't part of this whole Year of the Dragon thing. But like I said, I kind of jumped the bandwagon a little bit on that one. So the very first one I did, I actually have to dig it out of my bag. He's a little bit buried. Where'd he go? He's down at the bottom. He's down at the bottom. You know what? I'm just going to dump the bag out and make a pile. Maybe it'll be easier to find them that way. Okay. The very first one that I did was this guy. Now this one, I could not for the life of me tell you where to find this pattern again. This one was actually a free pattern that I found online on a blog, and I just basically Googled free dragon pattern, and it was done in regular, like acrylic worsted weight yarn, like a size 4 yarn. So he was about that big. And if you're searching for him yourself, he also had the same pattern designer on their blog also had like a mini Cthulhu that had kind of similar body shape, but then had like the tentacle mouth. So this guy I made in a size 7 yarn. So you can tell he turned out a good bit bigger than the worsted weight version. He did take quite a long time to make. There's a lot of sewn on pieces. The arms and legs were all sewn on. The wings were sewn on separately. The tail, the muzzle was sewn on separately. And the pattern actually called for this ridge and the eyebrow ridges to be sewn on separately, but I wound up surface crocheting those just to save me a little extra step. So a lot of sewing, a lot of time. He's cute. Oh, and then I did color changes instead of sewing on a separate belly patch. So there was a lot of sewing involved with this guy. And he's okay. He's cute. Obviously, he hasn't sold. I made him in November of last year. So I've had him for 7 months now, almost 8 months. And he still hasn't sold. He's been sitting out at my markets, just hanging out. I don't know if he's going to sell. I may wind up having to put him in like a clearance bin. So, yeah. And like I said, I couldn't even find this pattern again if I wanted to, because I removed it from my bookmarks bar once I found other patterns I liked better. The next honorable mention is one that I made in December, but it was right at the end of December, so it was right on the cusp. And this is Dragon Pattern by Works of Whimsy Crochet, Jackie Chaplin here on YouTube. And I was privileged to test this pattern for her. This was a dragon and dinosaur combination pattern, so you could do either one. And I think it also comes with an egg pattern, so you can make a dragon egg to go along with the dragon. A lot of sewing involved with this one, but as you'll come to see, we expect that with dragon patterns at this point. She has pattern changes or color changes for the belly patch, and then the muzzle, I believe, was sewn on. I'm trying to remember since it's been 6 months now since I made them. I know the horns are sewn on separately. Each of these little spines are sewn on separately. The tail is sewn on. Yeah, I think it's all pretty much sewn on. The arms, the legs, and these little wings. But I think it turned out really cute, and the sewing is not difficult. There's just a decent amount of it. And I love the little ham hocks that he has on his little legs. That's one of my favorite parts of this one. And the horns are really fun to do too. So this is Works of Whimsy by Jackie Chaplin. So if you want a good sitting up chubby dragon, this is a good option. I like this guy. Okay, so that was the honorable mentions that were technically last year. So now, beginning with January, the first dragon that I made this year was this dragon. This is by Lysenko Crochet, and her pattern, she shows it made, again, in acrylic worsted weight yarn. I made this in Big Twist Posh. This was actually, I think, the first thing that I made in Big Twist Posh. And the colors just said watermelon to me, so I made it a watermelon dragon. Now, the only thing I really changed about the pattern, or I say changed, was I embroidered these little stitches to make it look like a watermelon. So it's a chubby, very round, sleeping dragon. I love these ears. I think these are some of my favorite ears on dragons. These sort of pointed, like leaf-shaped ears. And then the spikes are sewn in, the wings are sewn in, the legs are sewn in. Again, like you'll see with most dragon patterns, there's a lot of sewing involved. And then this little arrow-shaped tail is sewn over the tip of the main dragon tail. So again, takes a long time. The main body part does not take very much time at all. It went fairly quickly. I will say that since I use a yarn under yarn over technique, I did notice that as with most patterns that have very specific shaping details, her body kind of, I don't think she's quite exactly the way the pattern is supposed to be. I think her body kind of turned a little bit, which is why I tacked in a couple stitches in her neck and in her tail to curl them inward, so it just looks like she's curled up asleep to kind of compensate for that. That sort of pattern drift is just something I deal with on a regular basis because I think I crochet differently than most people, or maybe my tension is much tighter than others. I'm not sure. But like anything with bobbles or very specific shaping, using increases and decreases in specific places, I wind up having to try to adjust for, or it's going to wind up doing a bit of a drift. But there she is, the Lysenko Crochet dragon. And this was the only one I made from that pattern, specifically because of that drift, and there's a lot of shaping, a lot of increase here, decrease there, X number of increases, X number of decreases to get a very specific shape. And I did not want to have to modify that to myself. But please give it a try, and you may find that you don't have to change anything up. Sorry, I have to check my light. You know me, I gotta check it like maniacally. Okay, so that was beginning of January. The next several dragons that I made were the Posy the Fairy Dragon pattern by oh, her name was right on the tip of my tongue, and now I have completely blanked it out. I'm seeing her face. Gosh, I'm sure y'all know the pattern. I will have it. I'll put it on the screen. I don't know why. I'm just tired, I think. It's early morning. My brain is not wanting to brain right now. But Posy the Fairy Dragon, I've made several of. I don't have the very first one that I made to hand right now because I gave it to my daughter and she sleeps with it all the time. But it was just basically following the pattern exactly as is in the Posh yarn. So it comes out to be about this big. The next one that I made from the same pattern, I did a whole lot of alterations on my own. So this is Coquette Dragon. So the main body is still Posy. The ears are Posy. I kind of free-handed these legs so I could get a little bit more of a rounded leg. I think the wings are still original Posy. Yeah, the wings are original Posy. The heart on the tail comes with the original Posy pattern. I free-handed these horns. I added a ridge down the back instead of spines or balls, and then I added a bow. So this is the Valentine's Coquette Dragon, modded from Posy the Fairy Dragon. The next one that I did was I took a little break from Posy and I made Dusty, the Knotted Lovey Dragon by Mama Made Minis. This is the one that's in her book. And this one, I mean, it took me probably an hour and a half to work up. Not bad. And the posies are an hour and a half too, even with a bunch of alterations. So these little baubles are worked in. It starts at the nose and works its way back, so you don't sew any of that on. The ears are crocheted into the round. The arms are sewn on. The wings are sewn on. And the tail is sewn on. But as you're making the tail, the baubles for the spikes are worked in. So there's a little bit of sewing, but not a whole lot. He's not a completely no sew, but he's a low sew. And I just think he turned out really cute. Then the next one that I made, I went back to Posy and I started using jumbo yarn. So here is Posy in jumbo yarn. She gets quite a bit bigger. And I made her in a sunflower version of herself. So I made up leaf-shaped wings. I added sunflower petals to the regular spikes to give sunflowers. I made a sunflower for the tail. This is the legs from the pattern. So the original legs, original body, and the ears from the pattern. I just did color changes so that they would be sunflower-esque. So this is the Sleeping Sunflower Dragon in size 7 jumbo yarn. The next one I did was another Posy, again in jumbo yarn. I just kind of went on a Posy kick for a while. And this was Posy the Party Dragon. So this is with the cup-shaped ears without the spikes on them. Regular kind of ball spikes on the back and a ball for the tail. This is the original legs for the pattern. And then this is actually the wings from the Dusty Dragon Knotted Lovey pattern. And then this is with size 7 jumbo sprinkles yarn. And she's just fun. I just liked her coloration. I think that was... I did make up another Posy after that a while later. But I don't think I think I sold the other Posy that I made. I don't see her in this pile. Okay. The next one that I made was Winnie the Dragon, the Red Mills Crochet Winnie the Dragon, and I made it to look like Haku. And I actually don't have it out here because I keep that one wrapped up in a little trash bag because he's all white and I don't want him to get dirty. So I'm actually going to pause here so I can go get him and show him to you. Okay, I'm back. So, Haku, like I said, I keep him in a bag because he's white and I don't want him to get ruined. So this is the Winnie pattern by Red Mills Crochet. And isn't he beautiful? He's one of my favorite things that I have made, I think. This pattern took me quite a while to make. I don't think I timed myself for the actual thing because I kept, adding different things to really make him look more like Haku. So Winnie herself, these are the ears and the horns, the legs up until the point of the little chicken feet. It was all from the base Winnie pattern. And of course, this iconic super long tail. I did not add the wings because Haku is a wingless dragon. He's the river spirit from the movie Spirited Away. So most of it is from the pattern itself. I embroidered the nose. I added the whiskers. I used a teal fur yarn for the ridge, but the ridge is part of the pattern as well. And I just did one little feather off the end because he doesn't really have a lot of stuff coming off the ends. I added these little chicken feet. I just freehanded these because for some reason Studio Ghibli always has chicken feet on their creatures. I'm not really sure. And then I embroidered the belly patch. I thought about doing color changes, but I just thought this would actually be easier and quicker, and I think it probably was when I did it this way. So I'm very pleased with him. And this is the only Winnie I have made so far, but I do have plans to make more. I enjoyed this pattern a good deal. Even though it did take a long time, it was definitely one that was like it was just it was just an enjoyable process to sit down and work on. Um, you make the body and the head separately and then sew them together at the neck. But I believe that I could probably figure out how to make that one piece, and I'm going to try that with the next one. And I want to try it with a an ombre yarn that just like naturally changes color over the length of his body, and I might shorten him up a little bit. The length worked really well for Haku, but I'm going to try different. Excuse me, try different configurations just to see what I like. So that's Haku. And I'm going to carefully put him back in his bag. Keep him nice and white and pretty and clean. So he just stays in this bag inside my totes with my other things. Okay. So then the next one I did this is in February now, was called Baby Dragon. It was a free Instagram pattern, and I've already sold this one. I have seen Scribbles here on YouTube making this same pattern a lot for her markets, and they seem to sell really well for her. And I may throw a couple more in just to have like a lower price point version of the dragons. A lot of these bigger ones I have priced at like $85. The medium sized ones I have at $55. So this one, the baby dragon Instagram pattern, works up very, very quickly, and would be a really good like lower end of the spectrum price point, like 20 or so. And I think that would be a good thing to have. The next one I made, again, it's been sold, so I don't have a picture of it, or I don't have it to show you, but I'll put a picture of it in. Was actually a baby Nessie pattern for Young Instagram, but I altered it to make it look like a dragon. So the Nessie pattern has like the flipper arms, and it has like a ridge down the back. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'll put a picture of the pattern, the front page of the pattern, so you'll be able to see what it looks like. And then what I did was I changed it, and I'll have a picture of my finished product, was I put a frill around the back of the head so it looks like it's like frilling up like this, and I gave it whiskers like an Asian dragon, made him red and gold. I think I did give him wings, and I called him Mushu, and he sold at the first market that I took him to. He was very popular. Okay, then February 22nd, I made another Posy Dragon. This one was again in Posh. It was purple and pink, and I was experimenting with like a really minimal Posy Dragon. What was like the least I could kind of put into it for it to still look really nice and be at a minimal size. To again trying to find like a good lower price point dragon. And so I got it down to where I could price it for 35, which I thought was great, and I'm we'll probably also, throw a couple more of those price point dragons in now and again. And the way I did that was I followed the main pattern, but instead of knobs, I just did a ridge down the spine, and it was just a ball on the tail. So I didn't have any like extra decoration. Um, I didn't really have to do a whole lot of sewing. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, I just did the ridge down the spine and the ball tail, and just kept it minimal. And it was like light purple with light pink as the accents. Then the next ones I did were for a pattern test that I did for Not Your Mama's Shop on Instagram, and they were two of her fruit dragons, and this was in April. So I don't think I made any dragons in March. But the first one I tested was the lime dragon. So this is her lime dragon pattern with a different ridge, and she has a bunch of different options for like wing types to make them look like different fruits, different ways to do the spine. This one has, I love the way her ears work because they kind of curl and make like a little cup. And so I love the way that worked up in the pattern. This is with this Posh, a combination of Posh and Baby Bear. So, and I think this one turned out really cute. So this was the lime pattern. And then the other one I tested for her was the Kiwi Dragon. That's this little guy. So very similar in body, but then it's got bobble stitches for the spine on this one. The wings, this is not the wings that she had for this dragon. I did little kiwi slices for the wings, specifically because I ran out of my yarn partway through the dragon and was not able to finish the wings as written in the pattern. So, but I still think it turned out pretty cute with the little kiwi slices. And this is all Big Twist Posh in this one. Then the last two, is it the last two or do I have more after that? Nope, I do have more. So the next two that I made was another pattern test I did, and this was for Crochet by Jenna. And she has a no-sew dragon pattern. The first one I did, I've already sold, so I'll put a picture up of it. And it was a lavender themed dragon. So it was a sage green sort of body, and then I added little lavender petals around the base of the tail. Those were not included in the pattern. I added that. And then this one, I did sort of Haku color inspired dragon. And like I said, this is a no-sew pattern. So you've got little bobble stitches for the nose, the little curling ears. Actually, her ears are, this is not the same. These are the ears from the Not Your Mama's Shop pattern. I just liked them a lot, so I added them to this one. But Jenna's horns and ears are all crocheted into the round, bobble stitches in different colors, and it works out really cute. The legs are crocheted into the round. The wings are crocheted into the round, and you can either have them really floppy like this, or you can tack them down if you'd rather they stay still. And then she has bobbles down the spine that are crocheted into the round, and I decided on this one to do another fur stripe, like with Haku, because it was supposed to be Haku inspired. So this is Jenna's pattern, but slightly modified. Okay. Then the very last dragons that I did have actually both sold, so I'll have to just put pictures in. But in April, I did a pattern test for a super tiny axolotl for Yarnaholic Sociopath on Instagram, and you can find that pattern on her Instagram. And as I was doing the axolotl, I was like, hey, you know what? If I just don't put on the facial gills and then I add little wings at this point, it looks like a dragon. And I sent that to her as I was pattern testing for, and she liked it. And then she worked with it and changed it up some more and made it even better and added like little bobble stitches for his legs, and a couple of different wing styles and like tail tip styles, and released another pattern. So you can also find the new dragon pattern on her Instagram, but he's even better. So the first one was fairly simple. It was just the axolotl body, and I added wings basically. And then she took that and ran with it and made the coolest little tiny dragon, which I also got to test. And that is available on her Instagram. So that was April 29th. That was the last dragon. I have not made any dragons in May yet. As of right now, is it the 15th or the 16th? I don't even know what day it is. It's the 14th. See, I have no idea what day it is. So it's halfway through May. I might start another Winnie. That's my plans for my next dragon is the ombre Winnie. But that's all the dragons that I have made so far the first half of the year. Now, as you can tell, Posy was the one I made the most of. I made a whole lot of Posy right after I got that pattern. And I would have to say that that probably is my favorite of the Sleeping Dragon style patterns. Um, I do love Winnie, but Winnie is not as market friendly, I think, because it takes a while to make. I love Winnie as more of a giftable pattern or like custom order. Um, but with both of those, I love how customizable they are, how many different ways you can change things up just by slightly changing the shape of the wings or the ears or by what you do with the colors. That's one of the most fun things about these dragon patterns for me, has been that you can change them up into so many different things and theme them so many different ways with very minor alterations. So all the patterns that I've listed today, I have enjoyed working. I would say Posy I've probably enjoyed the most, with Winnie being a very, very close second. Um, and of course, Dusty, the knotted lovey, is a classic. And I would probably make more of him, except for the knotted lovey sell a lot slower for me than other patterns. Um, so I have not. I'm trying. Though I would love to make all the knotted loveys, I'm trying to hold myself back because they haven't sold as well or as quickly, and I don't want to be overwhelmed with things I can't sell because I am trying to run a business here. So that would be that. That's the ones I've made. That's my favorite. Um, yeah, dragons. That's all I got to say. So I hope you found this interesting. I hope that maybe you found some patterns you want to give a try yourself. Or if you have a favorite dragon pattern that I haven't tried or listed in here, throw it in the comments. Maybe other people need to see some more options. It's the year of the dragon after all, so I have a feeling that people are still going to be making a lot of dragons for the rest of the year. And thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, throw me a like. If you haven't subscribed yet and you want to see more of this, subscribe to me and you'll be able to see more. Although YouTube does a pretty good job of showing things in your algorithm anyway, just if you've watched one or two. Um, but yeah, I am so glad that you're coming along with me for this journey, and I'll see you in the next one.